Hello, 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 and greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Teeth Are Not Tools podcast. My name is Edward Ferguson, and I will be your host for these next few minutes. So, um, first of all, thank you guys for stopping by on this channel. So, this particular format, we are gearing it toward those in the medical profession, specifically cosmetic dentists. However, do not let that stop you from hanging out a bit because these topics that I'm going to be covering are pretty much universal. So you can use those on any platform or any channel. You just have to do a little bit of tweaking, replace cosmetic dentists with your business area. So a little bit of background about what we're doing. So we are on a mission to help 500 cosmetic dentists to increase and to double their leads by 2026. And this podcast and this format are all part of that. So if you would go ahead and like and subscribe if you find value in this at any point throughout these sessions on whatever platform you happen to find this on. So let's go ahead and jump into the heart of this. So what are we going to be talking about today? So today we're going to be talking about Google Ads. I think Google Ads are one of those platforms that's a mystery for a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be. Why should you invest in Google Ads for your business? How do they work? And what do you need to get started? And if you hang out to the end, we'll talk about a little bit on retargeting. So a lot of people have questions about retargeting. What is it? And we'll just go over it in a high level detail for that particular area. So what are Google Ads? Well, essentially, Google Ads is your sales team. When I typically say sales team in my sessions, a lot of people think a sales team is a group of people sitting in a room in a call center, and it can be that, but the reality is so much different in this day and age. The virtual sales team or the digital sales team can do a lot more. So essentially, it's not this sales team. It is this sales team. So it looks like a person sitting in a room writing some sort of copy. It looks like a coder or developer, someone that's actually assembling the ad, and maybe a photographer. Photos and videos are great in terms of providing that image and that view of whatever you're trying to portray. And then you take that and you sprinkle a little bit of AI. So right now, a lot of guys are thinking about AI in terms of Chat GPT, but even beyond that or before that, Google Analytics and the Google platform, the way it runs ads is it takes a lot of data and it takes this data and it manipulates it such that it can present it to you. So maybe in the future, all of this stuff will be replaced by AI as well. So we'll have our AI photos, our AI ad creative, and our AI copy creative, which is I think ChatGPT is taking over in a lot of these spaces at this day and age. Oh yeah, and I forgot to add. So as we go through this format, if you're listening to this format in audio format on the podcast, there may be some visuals that we go over throughout this. So those slides will be available on the website. So if you go to teetharenot.tools.com, you'll be able to access that information there. So why is the sales force important? Well, to meet your customers anywhere. They know who your customers are. They know your customers' habits. They don't take any 6 days, and they work through the holidays. And it's a scalable workforce. So that's that. All of these things are super important for a digital sales force. And without that, running ads can be cost prohibitive. And a lot of times people believe that ads are cost prohibitive because of that historical reason that it actually was. But based on that slide that I just showed with respect to AI and going through that process, it makes it so much easier to run. It makes it a lot less expensive to run as well. So in terms of the ad formats, what type of ad formats are there available to your business? Well, essentially, I'm summarizing this, but essentially there are 4 ad types for Google. Search, essentially search is when you quote unquote Google it, or when you're doing some sort of intention and you're looking something up, then you also have display ads. And display ads are when you're on your device or you're on a website and you're going through and you see images talking about a brand or a business, buy this, buy that. Those are what would be considered as display ads. The next thing that we have are YouTube ads. So YouTube ads are a little bit funny because they actually kind of encompass a lot of different types of ad formats, but essentially they are a visual ad format. YouTube ads can come in the form of display ads. It can also come in the form of a video. And so that way, when you're seeing the ad is actually a motion picture as part of that feed. So you'll see that as you're watching a YouTube video, and then in that break, they'll put in the video, some ads, and then it'll go back to your video. That's how they are monetizing those particular activities. And then the last one, which is also somewhat of a hybrid, which would be digital television networks. So digital television networks, if you've ever seen, if you have, let's say, a smart TV, which should be about a good portion of you, and you're watching your show and you see ads between those shows, well, those are different ad networks. One of the ad networks, if you're on an Android device, happens to be the Google Ad Network, and that's where you can show those shows at your particular contingent while they're watching their shows. You're capturing them where they are, where they live. It's really great for local service type advertisement. So if your dental practice is in a specific neighborhood or specific area, you'll definitely want to run some sort of televised ads, because family time, people are watching TV, they're seeing their shows. Oh, I have a toothache. There's a doctor on TV. Their office looks pretty nice and clean. They look fun and exciting. Let's go over there. Oh, let me hold up my phone and scan their QR code and book an appointment now. So so now we talked about the different ad formats. Let's talk about what the ads actually look like. Let's talk about the anatomy of the ad. So essentially, in terms of the advertisement anatomy, you have maybe an image as part of the ad. The image needs to represent whoever the demographic is that you are communicating with. It has a title. In this particular example, the title says dentist office. And sometimes you don't have to be extra creative. Sometimes you just need to say the needful. And dentist office is definitely the needful. Yes, I need a dentist. What services that you offer as part of that business, that brand, specifically here, dental practice. And then how do we contact the individual? And so that's where we have the address for the contact. And then we also have this little area down here, a call to action. And that essentially gives us the ability to connect with the people on their particular areas. All right. This is a view of the Google ad console, or as we're assembling the ads. Essentially, as this is a tool that judges the strength of your ad. So remember we talked about AI and all this data and analytics. Well, it takes all of that information of past ads that have run, the success and failure rate of those ads, and it creates this wizard so that when you're creating a new ad, it actually can help you to refine your ad. So it talks about the images, how good are your images? If you're using videos, how good are your videos? The headlines that you're using. So that other example that we saw, the headline said dental practice or dentist office. And then also the description. How well are you describing your product or your service? And we'll take all of that information and cram that into the console. And maybe cram is not the right word, but sometimes it feels like that when we're building out these ad campaigns, because there's so much information that we want to put in there. But there's so much little attention that we're going to get. So we have to kind of whittle it down so we get that right hit right away when you're scrolling by. But we put it into the tool, and then the tool spits out a yay or nay. Let's go ahead and run this ad. And And that's how the console looks. Um, for this section right here, um, we're going to be talking about why you should be using digital ads in the first place for your office. So regardless of whether it is Google ads or Facebook ads or any other platform out there, because there are several platforms out there, why do you really want to use these ads? Well, a lot of times when we're in this digital space, there's this notion of build it and they will come, and the people don't come. The people have to be told that your business is there. If you imagine, if you're walking down the street, you've probably walked across several businesses which you've never even been in, and the moment that you have a need for that business or that service, and you search for it, and then miraculously it's there. Oh, I didn't know that this dental practice was in my neighborhood. I've walked past that every day for the last 2 years. Oh, this is not a new establishment. And that's because people are highly focused on what their activities are. There's attention deficit in terms of where they can focus their deficit. So build it and they will come does not work. It's a nice thought, but in most scenarios, it is not feasible. Now, what is feasible is, again, capturing people's attention. How do we capture people's attention? Well, essentially, we want to capture people where they are. We want to capture where they live while they're doing what they're doing. So imagine this. You are standing at the line of this great new hotspot in the city, and there's a long line of people, that long queue of people waiting to get in, to get a reservation, to get a seat at the hottest spot in the city. And I would compare that to just organic. You happen to be standing in the line, and eventually you make it to the head of the line. That's your listing in Google, on the Google search. Your business is on the website, and you're slowly paying for SEO to increase your rank. Well, what happens if you don't have a lot of time? Your business is up and running. You're paying for rent. You're paying for staff. You're paying for insurance. You're paying for everything that you need to run a business. You don't have time to stand in line. Well, how do you get to the front of the line? Well, you pay for it. You walk up to the front and you say, "I'd like to purchase a reservation or get a part of this establishment." And then you just walk up to the front of the line. You walk through. You walk in. It may cost you a couple of dollars, but you're in the restaurant. You're in that spot. The same thing can be said if you go to, let's say, a grocery store. So in my example here that you see on my screen, we have a grocery store. Again, imagine that you are at the big sports game. So you're at the big game. You want some chips, you want some dip, you want all the stuff that you want, but you don't want to walk up and down the aisle. You just want to grab it and go. Well, grocery stores know this already, and they have what's called a slotting fee. So for those individuals and those organizations that have the money, they will put their products and their wares right in the front where everybody can see. They run, they grab it, it's in their cart, and they're out the door. That's the benefit of ads. The benefit of digital ads, it takes it one step further than that. So in terms of analogy, traditional media, there's a couple of different types of traditional media, but let's say there's newspapers, so you can get newspaper ads, and that may work in some neighborhoods. But in other neighborhoods or other markets where they're saturated and there's a lot of people looking at ads, look at this guy reading his newspaper. Well, if I buy an ad in that paper, I'm paying $400 for this ad. This guy right here has to find my ad in this paper, and he has to have an intent, has to happen to stumble upon my ad, and it has to be the day that my ad is running in the paper. What happens if my ad is running on a Tuesday and he picks it up on a Wednesday? He's not going to see my ad. In addition to that, there's a whole bunch of ads behind him. I don't know if you can see this, but this looks like hundreds of others of publications. So that opportunity is very, very slim for you to get in front of this individual. You may have to run ads in several publications before you begin to get some traction in that space. It's just the way it is. I don't have anything against print ads, but it is a very, very competitive market. The other thing is radio ads. Well, radio ads are amazing. They're great, but unfortunately, radio ads, in addition to being very scarce of being able to actually find a position, are very expensive. So, I mean, you're paying a couple of $1,000s to get your slot or your chance to give someone a shout out while they're in rush hour. In addition to that, there's only so many of a certain business type that can be displayed during a specific slot. So, for instance, if you're listening to the radio, you may hear a car ad, then you may hear a dentist ad, then you may hear a roofer ad, but you're not going to hear dentist ad, dentist ad, dentist ad, dentist ad, or car ad, car ad, car ad, because people don't want to hear that. It's too monotonous. And so the programming people at the radio station have to break it up. So unless you are the highest bidder and you have a couple of $1,000s to throw out there for this medium, it's not going to be for most people. The other avenue out there, which may be a little bit more feasible, it's kind of like the radio and the print, or billboard ads. Billboard ads are amazing. The only problem with billboard ads are that they are like taking an elephant gun on a safari and you're trying to shoot mice or squirrels or ferrets. Bad analogy, but essentially what I'm trying to say is this ad is out there for everybody. You're paying a lot of money. Everybody's going to see the ad. People may respond to it or may not respond to it, but it is kind of just out there. So you really have to be very careful about your budget in that format. And also in terms of the medium that you use, you have to find something that's going to be able to capture somebody's attention while they're driving by. And I don't know if you've really paid attention, but next time you're driving on the highway, look to the left of you, look to the right of you. And chances are you're going to see someone driving, doing this, looking down at their phone while they're driving the vehicle. So they're not even paying attention on the road. So just for them to expect them to see those road signs, it's going to be very difficult. And then the last thing that we have on our list are water cooler chats. Water cooler chats are great. The only problem with water cooler chats are that when people are in a situation and a situation is great, they may tell one or two people, oh yeah, Dr. So-and-so is great. He fixed me up right away. He took care of my husband, my child, my spouse, my partner right away. One or two people, yeah, they were great. If they are unhappy with your service, they are telling everybody. They're telling the mama, their cousin, the aunt, their uncle, the next door neighbor, oh, don't go to so-and-so. So it's a double-edged sword, but it's kind of geared more so in the negative way. People thrive on gossip and negative information, unfortunately, and we don't really have any chance to rebuttal in that scenario. We can't say, hey, we actually do great service. There was just a misunderstanding. So what can we do to resolve this? Well, as we know, a lot of patients, prospective patients, they pay a lot of attention to their phone. They're on their phone all the time. And that's a good thing. When they show up to your office, they're in the chair. They may walk into your office. They come through. They're going through the check-in process. They're still on their phone, doing whatever they're doing. Maybe family stuff, maybe work stuff. They sit in the chair. You're getting set up. They're still on the phone, texting. Okay, I need you to lean back. It's a nuisance, but it's also a blessing because we know where their attention is. So yes, while it may be a nuisance to try to get their attention away from that device during your at your practice or at the service, but it's also a benefit because it allows you to know where to communicate with them on those digital devices. Now, in terms of ads in general, we have to be very specific. A lot of times people ask us, Edward, why are you guys focusing on the dental niche? It's because we need to focus on one particular area so we can maximize the value that we are providing to that particular area. We may expand in the future, but for now, that's the area that we focus on in terms of our holistic marketing campaigns and marketing efforts. The reason being is if you look at this chart that we have here, it's a globe. If I was to try to take an advertising spend for your business and try to get everybody, it's going to be very expensive. Remember the scene with the magazine or the billboards? I'm showing something to everybody. And that's going to be cost prohibitive. Most practices don't have millions of dollars to spend on ad campaigns. Uh, let's say we shrink that down now. Let's say instead of going through the entire ocean, we're going to a lake. Go to the lake house, and we can go take our fishing rod with us and our reels and our lures and go out there and catch some stuff. That's amazing. It may take us some time. We may be sitting out there for a couple of hours as we try to figure out where the fish are. Remember that, where the fish are, and then hopefully we catch something. We may have to move around or AKA change our strategy. Same thing that we do with our advertising campaigns. But once we find out where they are, then we can go ahead and get some fish and bring some fish back. What if I told you that there's a way, instead of doing all of this, to narrow it down even more? Well, that's where the digital ads come in. They kind of give you like a fixed way to get everything. As long as you have everything reeled in or highly focused and condensed in terms of who you're talking to, how are you communicating with them? What mediums do they use? Well, instead of having an ocean or a lake, you can have just a little kiddie pool and say, okay, fine. I don't have millions of dollars. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I do have hundreds of dollars. And my business area is in this particular area. And I know that it's the soccer mom that has kids that are about this age. And I know that she tends to be on this platforms, Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube at this time of day. And I know that she likes these type of images. That you're pretty much guaranteed to get some return on investment. So this is the critical part. Now this piece, I mean, I'm showing a fish tank right here on the screen. So if you can see my screen, there's a fish tank here or a swimming pool here. This is the part where the experts come in. So as a dental practitioner, you're not going to be, fishing in a fishing pond. You'll bring in a team, and hopefully that team that comes in understands your business well enough that they can set up these parameters ahead of time. So you're not wasting a lot of effort into that. So you got the fishing tank or the swimming pool, you stick your rod in, and right away you got a lead hit. And that's the beauty of digital ads. I mean, it's really that simple, or at least it can be that simple. So now that I talked about sales team and Google ads and fishing and oceans and lakes and pools, let's talk about how Google ads work at a high level. So, Edward, how do Google ads work? Well, first of all, let's talk about the platforms on Google ads. So Google actually has two different platforms, or there's more than two platforms, but for purposes of this conversation, we have Google AdSense. And Google AdSense it gives the website the ability to host the ads, because the ads have to be hosted someplace. These ads that people are going to see, you have to put them someplace. Well, they partner with companies and businesses and website owners and other platforms, could be apps and games, to host these ads. And then you have the other side, which is called Google Ads. And Google Ads gives you the ability to actually run ads on those other platforms that we talked about on the AdSense. So those are the two sides. So the ad hosting and then the ad creation. And this is important because when you're creating these ads, you want them to run on platforms that are representative of your business. And if it's not representative of your business, then you may not want to run on selective type of platforms. So you may not want to run on gaming apps. So you may want to block that from your campaigns. Or you may be a part of a triathlon group and you want to make sure that your ads are running on runner type websites. Google helps with that, but again, it's just being aware that that stuff exists. So on the back end is just this huge database. So those of you guys in audio land, I'm showing on my screen right now is a symbolic of a database. Uh, a line pointing to the database is us as an end user going into a website, and our website data information is being captured. And then we're visiting some other websites. And as we visit those websites, that data is captured. And based on that information, then it creates an output. And that output happens to be the ads that we run. So let me run through this at a high level. So this database that we have right here at the top, that is Google in quotes for all intents and purposes. Google is all seeing, all knowing. It's capturing a lot of data points about us all the time. So whether we're on our mobile devices, whether we're on our desktops, whether we're unfortunately making and receiving phone calls, whatever those data points happen to be, we are sending data and it's being captured on the Google environment. When we visit a website, the website has a tracking code, and that tracking code gets sent back to Google along with where we visited. And so it's the website that we visited, how long we stayed on the website, what buttons we clicked, and that gets stored in Google's database. We visit another website and we do a search for braces. And we visit another website after that and we do a search for toothpaste. And based on all of this information that we're feeding into Google, Google's going to come back and say, hey, I have a solution. I think I've built the ideal profile. It's going to make some assumptions about what you've done, and it's going to build a profile. And then it's going to show you some images based on that. So if I'm searching for braces and toothpaste and school and soccer equipment and gear along that line, Google will probably assume that I am a person of a certain age that has children of a certain age, and those children may need a pediatric dentist. And then those pediatric dentist ads will start showing up when I visit a different website. Come visit Dr. So-and-so. It's a little bit oversimplified, but that's essentially how Google ads work. So I mean, it takes out a lot of the legwork in terms of making assumptions of how people are going to consume the data. And literally, it just hands people the data. That's part of that AI portion of the Google ads that are being set up. So what do you need to get started to use Google ads? Well, fear not, I'm going to tell you. Actually, it's not very much to begin with. So anybody can really set up a Google Ads account. Some of these processes are going to take a little bit longer than others, such as some of these processes require some types of verifications. But for the most part, anybody can set up a Google Ads account and a Google Ads campaign. So the first thing that you need is a Google account. Google accounts are great because they allow you to take part in the Google ecosystem. There are multiple ways that you can set up Google accounts. So you can have a regular email at your domain. It can be on another provider. It can be on Microsoft, for example. You can still take that Microsoft account and associate it with a Google account without creating a Google email. Or you can just have a Google Workspace account that will qualify you right away. Or you can just go ahead and set up a personal Google account. Either one of those three scenarios will work just fine as long as you can log onto the Google ecosystem. The next thing that you're going to need, is a Google Analytics account. So a Google Analytics account is the interface where Google allows you to see what's being tracked when people visit your website. It has a lot of metrics associated with it. So it talks about where the user is coming from. It talks about how many times the user or the frequency that user has been on your website, what pages have they gone to, what is the flow or the progression of the pages that they've gone through. It also allows you to set up some goals to say, okay, if the person visits this page or presses this button, it can be considered as a conversion, essentially a person that purchased a product or service. Or if you actually have products and service for purchase on your website, you can utilize that as well to get some to mark that as a conversion. So that's the second thing. The third thing that you're going to need is a Google Ads account. Google Ads account is how you're going to run your ads. So like those images that have, or I guess the media that has images and it has some text, some descriptive information that's fun and interesting, mainly interesting about your practice, then that's going to go into that ads. And this is where we spend money to make an ads campaign. And then the last part is going to be a destination. So when you're running these ads have to be run someplace, and it has to have a destination. Most of the time, the destination happens to be your website, but certainly that destination can live within the Google ecosystem, and then they can take that and form a chart. It really just depends on what is the best strategy for your practice or your brand. But again, there has to be a destination. So how do we get to these platforms? Well, if you just take a screenshot here, essentially, and for those in audio land, it's going to google.com. That's will allow you to get that Google account. If you go to analytics.google.com, that will allow you to get that analytics console and that information set up. If you go to ads.google.com, you got to see where I'm going with this, right? It's everything at google.com or .google.com. And then a destination, which is yourwebsite.com, where you directing this traffic to. You have those things, you have the recipe for a Google Ads campaign. So this is another ad picture of one of our clients. So for you in audio land, once again, essentially we're just showing the anatomy of an ad. So the ad has some type of hero or some type of important image for the branding. It has a title. The title talks about what are we selling. So for here, we say we're a family dentist. The logo, brand awareness, super important. So we want to make sure that we have imagery out there that represents the brand, and then maybe some descriptive text. So if they make it that far, we want to at least tell them what they're in for. So this has it talks about some social proof. It says, okay, we've been in business for 20 years, and then we have state-of-the-art equipment. Obviously, that is great information for someone that is looking for a brand new office. I mean, there's some offices that have been around for a long time or not so long and don't have the latest and greatest equipment. If you've been around a long time, tell people you've been around a long time. If you stayed up on your trainings and your equipment and have these license these great new technologies, tell people about that in their ads, because that could be the difference between getting the client and not getting the client. And then also in terms of the imagery, one thing that I did not mention is that the imagery has to be something that's relevant. I mean, there's a lot of stock images out there, and you can use stock images. Even within the Google library, there's some images that you can use. However, nothing feels better to the client and does better than unique branded content and images. So if that is something that represents your brand, use that content. I'm not saying don't use stock images. I'm saying just find something that's relevant, but stock image, custom images tend to perform better than stock images. I don't know if you've seen, but there's some stock images that I've seen so many times that it is like, wow, are they really using this image again? I'm pretty sure you've seen those images as well. So in terms of making these ads, I'm going to talk about something that is not really talked about when we're making these ads, and that is the approach. The approach is, it may be covered under the legalese or the ad format library in a different way, but essentially the rule of thumb is don't post anything that is going to make someone feel bad about themselves. So what do I mean by this? So in terms of the language, we'll fix your crooked smile is kind of a hard, it sounds like, okay, yeah, we fix crooked smiles. But it's completely different from saying our team members are smile experts. We'll fix your crooked smile is telling somebody that there's something wrong with them. Their smile is crooked. Google doesn't like that. Facebook doesn't like that for that matter. Most ad platforms, if they see language like this or their AI tools that's scanning your language, it will flag your account and it'll just continue running your ad until you correct that error message. So it's super important in terms of the approach to talk about the positive aspects. And if you just have any more questions about that, just look at those TV commercials that you see all these people smiling and running and having a great day for all of these medical campaigns. They don't talk about the illness, the disease, the sickness. They're just showing people having a good time living their lives. You want to do the same thing for your campaigns because you don't want to get flagged. Getting flagged means that you have to spend more time and money and resources and effort to get a campaign that runs. The other thing is no word marks or trademarks. Even if you have permission, it's going to slow down your approval process. So for instance, if you use one of our trademarks, let's say like Flame Grower or the webpage site or Teeth or Teeth Are Not Tools, Google will flag that and they'll say that this is a trademark, and then you'll have to write an appeal. That appeal process can take a day or two, sometimes longer in certain cases, but you'll have to do an appeal, submit the relevant documents, and then you'll be approved. And I'm sorry, when I have to be very clear, no word marks or trademarks that are not your own. If they're your own brand, great. If they're somebody else's brand, then that's going to give you some challenges in terms of getting that stuff processed. So instead of posting an ad and publishing an ad and waiting for it to be approved and it's approved, you'll post the ad, publish the ad. It's going to be disapproved. You'll have to file an appeal, then talk to somebody, and then post some relevant approval so you can post that content. So you've just taken a process that could take 1 to 2 days and turn it into 1 week or longer. You don't want to do that. And then in terms of the digital ad space, we're constantly changing these ads. Some stuff works great out the box, but most of the time we're kind of like tweaking the numbers and turning the knobs a little bit to move some stuff so that way we can see where we're going to get the most benefit out of these investments for you guys. And when we do that, each time we do that, we may run the chance of triggering that flag such that we have a trademark that's not ours, that we have to go through that approval process. It's not worth it. It's really not worth your time. So if you're using trademarks for equipment, let's say Invisalign. Invisalign is great in terms of a product and a brand, but you can't use that as part of your ad campaigns. You can say clear braces or clear teeth aligners, but you can't use the trademark. Same thing with CEREC. You can't say we use CEREC as part of your branding because you're not representing that company, and then you have to go through all of that stuff to get it approved. But what you can say is we offer 1 hour crowns. And honestly, in those scenarios, like the CEREC's, the branding is great, but when you say 1 hour crowns, people know exactly what you're talking about. So, that actually may work out in your benefit. So what I'm going to show now are a couple of images that we have in terms of formatting. So these would be like typical images that we would show in terms of some types of ads. So we'll talk about demographics in a little bit, but essentially we want people happy, smiling. We're not saying anything about their teeth. Honestly, we may run into a little bit of a challenge with the toothbrush because a lot of times Google Ads will flag because they say no medical apparatus or apparati as part of their campaign. So that could get you flagged. But the point of this is you want to show people that are having a good time, that are happy, that are enjoying the products and services, as opposed to showing some of these type of campaigns. So these campaigns are showing medical tools that will get the account flagged right away. Like that ad will not get off the ground. Also, in terms of the ads, like in terms of oral diseases or things like that, you kind of want to steer away from that. Not only is it a little bit scary, but also in terms of the ad campaign and and interfering with someone's mind and showing them that this is bad. Google doesn't like that. Facebook doesn't like that. And so um, uh, you have to make sure that we have something that is going to be, again, bright and cheery and relevant toward us selling our products and our services. All right. So the images should now let's talk about the images and some of the demographic stuff behind your images. So if you look on my screen right now, you'll see that the images should align with customer and seasonal marketing. So we have right now, at the time of this recording, it is springtime, and there are 3 different types of images that are representative of springtime, or springtime is coming, I should say. So one, weddings. So there's a bride on my screen, has a great, beautiful smile. She happens to be of African descent, and she is just glowing. That is a good picture for springtime, especially if this happens to be your target demographic. You're saying, hey, bride, groom, come into our dental practice. Take care of that beautiful smile. We'll take care of your beautiful smile. You'll have an amazing day. You'll have great photos just like this one. That's amazing. This other one in the middle, there's a picture of a family on a sea-doo or some sort of water park. This is also great for talking to families that are going on vacation. So it could be a family, and there's a mom and a dad and a kid that has children. You could be traveling for the summer. You want to make sure, I don't know about you, but traveling during and then having a dental emergency while you're traveling is not fun. Not even a little bit fun. You can't you can't even relate to it being fun at any moment, because you're in so much pain. Ask me how I know. But having the doctor's office say, hey, before you go on this business trip, before you go on this extended summer vacation, before you do this traveling, why don't you come in, bring your whole family into the dental practice, and we can take care of you. Or at the end, in terms of these images, at the end of the school year, kids are graduating. They're graduating from college. They're going to be taking, first of all, from this picture, they're going to be taking great college photos. So there's a contingent of our society that loves to take these amazing glam college graduation pictures. I encourage that. I think they look phenomenal. I think they're amazing. Kudos to those photographers. I can take some great pictures. That just is not my style. I'm a little bit jealous, but amazing photos. But look beyond that for a moment. What else happens after these kids are graduating? Let's say they're graduating from college and they have a job lined up. Well, they're graduating and they're starting a new job. That job has benefits and they'll sign up for those benefits, but that benefits package may not be as great as your benefit package as a parent, or the parents' benefit package. So that's a great opportunity to upsell services that are relevant toward those particular parents, so they can get those expensive procedures out of the way on their insurance before their kids graduate and leave their insurance. So again, the images that you use should align with your customer base, and with the seasonal marketing. Super important. In terms of some other things along those lines, is to make sure that we are utilizing some call to actions throughout our site. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of sites out there, dental, non-dental, and they're missing call to actions. Call to actions are huge. It's like request appointment, put that like at the top of the site. How can they get in contact with you? Phone number. If you have a chat bot, how can they get in contact with you? We want to make the customer journey as easy as possible. All right. So enough on that. I'm gonna take a quick drink real quick. So for those of you that are still here and hanging around, I promise you that if you stay to the end, I was going to talk about Google Ads retargeting. Well, here we are. So, what is Google Ads retargeting and how does it work? Google Ads retargeting essentially is probably, I would say, the most important tool in marketing. And it has the ability to increase your yield and drive your costs down. So essentially, what happens is if a person visits a digital property, when I say digital property, I mean website, I mean mobile app, I mean um, email. If they visit those properties and they've seen the ads and they've clicked the ads on those property, at that point in time, the ad tool knows that that person has some interest or some potential intent toward interest for those products and services. At that point in time, because we don't have to search for any more customers because they're a prospect at this point, then we can continue to show more ads of similar nature to that individual with the intent that they will click on those ads. And then if they happen to visit more of those properties, then we show them more ads in that space. It's immensely powerful because not only does it introduce your product and start to, depending on how aggressive you are with this, start to introduce your brand to people, is that it lowers the cost of acquisition because those ads for retargeting happen to be less expensive. So in this image on my screen, I have a couple looking at doing some window shopping. I have another guy in another image doing some image shopping, and they're going to go away. After they leave, then that's when we say, "Hey, we noticed that you were looking in the window. Would you be interested in some pants?" Or if they come by the next day, "Hey, we have a sale going on right now." Or they come back the next day, "Hey, those pants look great. How about a complimentary pair of pants?" And that's essentially ad retargeting. And so, like, if you can see my screen, I have like the most ridiculous picture on my screen right now. So the person on the right is saying, maybe I should visit the dentist. And then the retargeting campaign has a whole bunch of ducks basically chasing the woman saying, go to the dentist, go to the dentist, go to the dentist. So if you've ever been to the beach and you fed the birds just a little bit and all the birds start to follow you, that's just that's a negative image of retargeting. But again, that is a form of retargeting because they're going to keep on coming at you with those ads. And obviously, we're going to put certain parameters so we don't spam the individuals to death. So we can set the duration of the ads, how many days after they click the ads. Do we want to wait a couple of hours? Do we want to wait a couple of days? Do we want to wait a couple of weeks? And then after that, what's the frequency are we going to show them? Are we going to show it to them like once a day, multiple times a day? Obviously, I think once a period is more than enough. And then we get them to their ads. So for those of you guys that are list people, here's a list for the benefits of retargeting. So number one, they capture lost leads. So those people that came and left, well, we just remind them that they visited and so, oh yeah, I was going to buy that. Or yeah, I was going to get that teeth whitening package. The other thing that we can do is we can promote different products. That's also a benefit of retargeting. So, hey, we just noticed that you brought this toothpaste. How about some a toothbrush to go along with it? How about a shiny new electric toothbrush to go with it? Or you just got braces or your braces taken off. How about some teeth whitening or some teeth cleaning services to go along with that? Another benefit is that you have a higher conversion rate. So because people showed intent, that means they're going to be interested at some point or are interested actively for that product or service. And so it has a greater chance of you converting them into a customer. And then also that other point that I mentioned earlier about the reduced acquisition costs. So it's actually less money to bring them a part of your fold and a part of your system. And typically it takes at least 7 tries before someone actually clicks on the ad. So, you have to literally get it in front of them. like 7 to the numbers vary, but it's like somewhere between 7 and 15 times, I believe. But it's like an insanely amount of tries, and you just have to just keep on reminding people, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here to do your teeth. I'm available for you. Let's do this. Are you ready yet?" And once you have them, then they're a part of your roster. So that essentially concludes this stream. I think that this information it's like insanely valuable. So like when you're having these conversations with your marketing team, you want to be able to have these intelligent conversations to actually understand what they're talking about, because a lot of us in this marketing space, we use our own language, and sometimes it kind of goes over people's heads. But at least hopefully by providing you with some type of value in terms of the format, in terms of the tools that we use, we'll be able to provide you with some additional guidance. Now, if you don't have a marketing team and you're looking for a marketing team, or you've been to your dentist and your dentist has said, "Man, I wish I had a great marketing team," or "I wish I can get some website updates," feel free to send them to us at teethandknottools.com, and we'll have a conversation with them and see how we can help to enhance their brand. And then in terms of our brand, we do a multi-step approach. So if you're interested about learning about our multi-step approach, check us out at teethandknottools.com. With that being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for stopping by. And if you have any topics or any tips for the show, feel free to send it to us. Visit teethandknottools.com, and then you can leave some tips or some comments there. That being said, have a wonderful and amazing day, and I will see you all next video.